You are all set.
Thank you, Jackie.
Okay.
Well, hello everybody, those that are here, those who are watching this on their screens. I'm delighted to be here today to speak about something that really is affecting and will affect all of us in one way or another. So I'd like to say hello in a couple of languages. Maybe you know what they are. If not, I'll help you. So the first one I'm going to say is salam, and that is hello in Arabic. And I'm going to say shalom, which is hello in Hebrew. I'm going to say hola, which is hello in Spanish. I'm going to say bonjour, which is hello in French. I'm going to say ciao, which is hello in Italian. I'm going to say sawati, which is hello in Thai. There you go. Yay! I love it. I'm going to say sahat manet. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, which is a welcome in my mind, which is the language of Somaliland, the southwestern part. So in whatever language you speak or that our new friends might speak, saying hello goes a long way. And as we go through the presentation, I hope that you will find that even learning one or two words in the language of a newcomer whom you might come in contact with goes a long way, along with a smile and welcoming words. So if you take nothing else away today from this session, then I hope that you take away how to say hello in the language of our new friends. I should introduce myself. My name is Karen Arbett. I thank you for inviting me to speak here. This is lovely and exciting, and having worked with newcomers for the past 4 decades at the Indian Hill School and Mapledale schools in Fox Point, Wisconsin, I've had a lot of opportunities and the privilege and the honor of working with families from countries literally all over the globe. I think I've hit every continent except for Antarctica. I probably don't speak Penguin very well, right? Emperor Penguin maybe. And Australia, their native language, their spoken language is English. So we've had kids who have come from Australia, but I haven't helped them learn English. But I've had every other continent, and it's, excuse me, it's really been an honor and a privilege to work with these children. It doesn't come without issues or problems. I want to refer to a friend in the audience, Barbara Puringer, with whom I've had the absolute honor and privilege of teaching since I began my teaching career in the early 80s, and Barbara was instrumental in helping me understand how to teach young children. So thank you, and your lessons have been life lessons, so I need to give you public thanks. I thought we'd start with a little icebreaker. It's always good to start a presentation with an icebreaker so that we interact. And what I would like you to do is, it's gonna be 2 parts. The first part is something that you're gonna do, that you probably do every day if you see a friend. How are you doing? What did you do yesterday? What are you making for dinner? Just a chit-chat, catching up as if you were to see them in the grocery store. Boy, it's been a long time. You know, how are you doing? What have you been doing? How have you survived, lockdown and all this stuff? So think about 5, 6, 7 sentences which you would like to share with a partner. And those of you at home, you can do this with someone with whom you live, or a son or a daughter or a friend. And so let's do that. I'm not going to tell you the second part because I want you to feel free about talking. So again, turn to a partner and maybe 5 or 6 sentences. Think about what you're saying. So think about, what did you do yesterday? What are you doing tomorrow? What did you have for breakfast today? What is your favorite leisure activity? Something you know about world events. Something that you can remember what you're saying. So, on your mark, get set, go.
Oh, you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
I'll let you go first.
Okay, well, today I was busy cleaning at home, taking my clothes from spring and summer and putting them in storage downstairs, and then transferring all my fall winter things upstairs now. And then I did 2 loads of wash, and I made a big pot of chili that we're going to have for supper tonight. And so I have been busy all morning trying to get these things done. And plus I have been on the phone with American Family Insurance and with my CPA, and it takes hours, it seems like, to get everything finished with those people. But anyway, that's what we were doing this morning. Tomorrow is going to be another busy day because I expect our lawn tractors to come back being serviced, and we will probably be cutting grass. So those are a few things.
Okay, well, I had my book club this morning right here, which was very interesting. And I've been on the phone too, scheduling appointments and things today. And of course I'm here. And I'm just going to have a very simple salad for lunch with chicken. And tomorrow I am planning on spending half of the day with my granddaughters. They get out of school early, so I will be doing that and taking the whole family out to dinner. And hopefully sometime before Sunday I will get my lawn mowed, maybe this afternoon. That's my big project right now.
I'm hoping we get that done too. It's growing like a weed. Okay.
All right, interesting conversations. Think about what you said. I know more about you, Chris, than I ever did. So I can't, is there a way that I can write on this board, William? There is. Is there a marker? I'm just looking, because I should have thought about that. If not, I wrote them on a sheet of paper, so is that okay? Okay, so I'm going to put this right here, you guys, so take a look. There's the letter G. I wrote down the letters G, S, L, and T. Why did I do that? I'll tell you why I did that. You are going to have, try to reconstruct the conversations that you had with each other and think about what you're saying. You may not use any words that have the letters G, S, L, or T. And so, so I want you, before you do it, you okay? Before you, as you're talking, what I'd like you to do is think about how you feel. Think about how you're searching for certain words that you want to say, but you can't say because of restrictions. Maybe you don't know these letters. So again, the letters are, and for those of you at home, G like in green, S like in sun, L like in lion, T like in tiger. So as you're doing this activity with friends at home or family members, you're going to reconstruct the conversation that you had, and I'd like you to really focus on the way that you feel. All right, and go.
Wow. I can start with I. I did do
Tough, isn't it?
I did do a call. No, I can't use L. I did do phone, maybe, yes, I could say phone. I did do phone. No, I can't say conversation. No, I can't say. I did do phone. Can't say talk. Okay, let's try a different approach. I did do I did do cook. I cooked. I can say that, I cooked. I cooked. I can't say chili. I cooked. I can't say soup. I cooked. Food. Thank you, Karen. I cooked food.
Look at Chris.
This is hard.
Thank you.
Okay.
This is really hard.
This is a challenge, folks, isn't
Yes.
it? And those of you at home, it is a challenge, but again, I don't know if you heard what Barb was saying, or I should say, was attempting to say, but I want to, if I may speak for you, Barb,
Absolutely.
it was a challenge.
Yes.
It was a challenge. Chris, let's give it a whirl.
Okay, you
Go
try.
ahead.
Oh boy, okay.
Okay.
I can't use that. Excuse me, okay.
I know, that's the problem. Get rid of that, take out the T, so we can
Well,
use.
no, I can't do that, that's the S.
I know.
S and T are in everything.
I know.
S and T are definitely in everything.
I came here,
Ah,
And?
in AM.
I came here and, yeah.
And I had fun.
There, oh, good for her.
Nice.
Better than I did.
Okay. You want to try another sentence, Chris? Chris said, I came here and I had fun. But I don't know if you can see her, but note that she had to really think about each word that she was going to say to be able to describe how she was thinking and to complete her thought. Chris, do you want to try another sentence? Oh, reconstruct another sentence.
Can't even use the word library because that
No.
is,
Oh, book,
I had
place, book, building.
work. Can't say that.
how about I read
Oh,
a book.
there you go. I read a very, I can't, okay. I read a nice book.
There you go. Okay, nice book, okay.
All right, I don't want to pressure you guys too much, but
Right, that's really hard.
I hope that you were able to hear Barb and Chris's comments. And if you could see them, you would see that it was a challenge. There was a lot of thinking and looking and grabbing for words that you had to choose to describe something. And if I may put a term on what you were feeling, was it a challenge to do what you did? Yeah,
Yes.
okay, it was a challenge
And frustrating.
and
Oh,
frustrating.
yeah, there you go.
So challenging and frustrating, and obviously the level of difficulty, something you hadn't encountered up to date.
Right.
So the way that you are feeling and the way that you're feeling at home is very similar to the way, and I'm going to start with my students, our students feel as they start on their journey to acquire English, to acquire proficiency in English. You will have children who become so frustrated, who are so challenged at the beginning stage, they will be silent. It's too much. They can't even try because it's so overwhelming. We will find that also in our newcomers, and we'll talk about that in just a bit. Our newcomers also being a little older and knowing they have to learn how to speak English if they want to get along in their new country. Whatever job that they choose to do, they're still going to have interactions with, like you say, going to the library, going to the doctor, going to fix your car or your tractor, or even just checking out at the grocery store. English is something that they will have to learn, and it is challenging and frustrating and difficult. So I want you to keep in mind the way that you felt as you were trying to reconstruct, as you were trying to say what you wanted to say, but were constricted by certain limitations. That's the way that many of our newcomers will feel, and hopefully by the end of our discussion, you'll have some ideas as to how we can help them, and we as Americans, we as people who have been living here longer than they have, I feel it's our patriotic responsibility. I think that we all need to realize that we all, at some point, were immigrants, our families, and unless anybody here is 100% Native American, then we all have people in our family at some point who came over from other countries and who most likely felt the same way that our newcomers today are, or that you felt trying to learn. So, I hope you enjoyed that icebreaker, and now that your brains are all stretched out. So what comes to mind when you hear the word refugee, or immigrant, or asylum seeker, or newcomer? What do you think? And I'm going to make this very interactive, everybody, because that's the way I roll. As a teacher, you have to have engagement, you have to interact. Lecturing is, where is she going with this? So I'm going to be stopping every so often and trying to extrapolate your thoughts, your comments. Those of you at home, you may want to stop the video and chat with whomever you're watching it with, because your discussions will be they might be intense, and you may learn something about the person with whom you're speaking. So I encourage you to do that. So, friends here, what comes to mind when you hear that word? Refugee, immigrant, asylum seeker, newcomer. Just anything that comes to mind.
Someone coming from another country.
Someone coming from another country. Barb, what about you?
I think more of the people coming across the borders in the south from Mexico, I guess, and I think of refugees coming more from across the ocean.
Right.
I don't know why.
Right.
They're both groups of refugees, really. They are refugees.
Yeah.
They are asylum seekers. Asylum seekers, I think of always those people who are trying desperately to get away from either the crime or the political areas that they are endangered from, coming to this country for safety.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of them want to be here for safety purposes, but I also think many of them do not want to come here for the purpose of welfare purposes, which some people seem to think that's why they're coming. And I do not believe that many of them are coming for that purpose.
So it sounds like you're saying they're coming here for freedom, for escaping from persecution, for
Yes.
be it religious, be it political,
Right.
be it a caste system,
Yes.
for the opportunity. In the end, it's the opportunity to live in freedom and to live without persecution.
Yes.
Is that?
And fear.
And,
To
right.
live without
And to
fear.
live without fear, exactly. So some thoughts are positive, and others may be negative. Just like you said, Barbara. I mean, some people, you know, they're coming here for a free handout because that's what some people see the United States as doing. So my goal today is to provide a deeper understanding of our newcomers, whomever they might be and from wherever they may be coming, and their experiences, so that we can better understand their challenges and their needs as we help to welcome and settle them in their new home here in the United States. And it is their new home. I mean, this is where they're going to stay. They're not going back to Somalia. They don't want to return to Guatemala. They don't want to return to Mexico, be it drug cartels, be it crimes against women. They don't want to return to Afghanistan because of the Taliban regime.
Right.
This is going to be their home. And, you know, as I said before, as welcoming citizens, I really believe that it's our duty to welcome them in any way that we can. The large majority of our most recent newcomers are refugees who have met with the agony of war. So I think of a country, the agony of war, civil unrest. I'm thinking of Somalia. I'm thinking of Afghanistan. Prolonged conflicts. Again, Somalia, Uganda. Deepening poverty. You know, we see some of these people in Mexico, Venezuela, and Colombia who are coming up who've lost everything. Drug cartels or shattering events of nature. Think about the Haitians that were turned back in Florida in the last 3 weeks. What was it, 10,000 under a bridge? I mean, how is that even sustainable? How do you have 10,000 people? I mean, I can't even imagine. I'm thinking of a football stadium, you know, that's a lot of people. Or, you know, like I said, earthquakes or tsunamis or volcanoes or tornadoes, flooding, obviously the hurricanes. So now they have to think about a future which will not include their homeland and which will not include hearing their heritage language. Heritage, I'm using the word heritage language as a home language, as a birth language. I just think that the term is a little more respectable. So heritage means the language which they were born into and learned as children. As they settle into their new environment, they won't have the comfort of stores around them that sell certain things that they're used to. They won't be hearing Arabic spoken, or they won't be hearing Spanish spoken around them. So our newcomers do hope to find a better life here, but life is not about the elder parents anymore. It's about their children. The skills that are older, I say elder meaning probably people at this point over the age of 50, so I'm going to call them our more mature newcomers, to be respectful of status. Our more, let's call them our more mature newcomers do hope to find a better life here. But as I said before, the skills that our mature newcomers have in their homeland may very well not get them a job here. Respected doctors, respected poets, intellectuals, college professors, politicians may never, ever, and probably won't ever, have the same elevated and revered status here as they did in their homelands. And Barbara can attest to that. How many people have we known who are physicians in their in their heritage birth countries, and they come here and they can't practice because of certification, because of boards, so they become something in the medical field, maybe an x-ray technician, which is certainly respectable, but it's not the level where they were and where they want to be. And so that is a self-esteem. That also affects self-esteem, which we'll talk about. So many of our more mature newcomers will certainly battle depression or PTSD or name another condition. I'm thinking that many of our newcomers who are coming from Afghanistan right now, who are at Fort McCoy, who are being resettled in Green Bay, and hopefully more will come down to this area. We're going to see some mature people who are depressed. What do? I mean, they can't learn as quickly the English. They're not in a school, which is a great way to learn. You're immersed every day. You hear a teacher talking to you in English. You have an English as a second language teacher teaching you every day. You have friends who want to play, and children pick it up. And we'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later in the session. So for this generation, and I'm sorry if this sounds very sobering, but for this generation of our mature newcomers, America may not be their land of opportunity, but a place to die. I'm sorry to say this, but they come here, and I can't tell you how many mature people from, especially Russia, and their kids are here, and they found jobs, and they had children who are now American citizens, and they live clustered in apartments on the east side of Milwaukee, and they are surrounded by people who, come from their walks of life, and with whom they speak Russian. There are so many of these recently arrived, or refugees, I should say, who don't speak English because they haven't had the opportunity nor the desire. And they're just literally, they feel trapped, but they can't go back. So that is something as well to think about. And for them, exile, if you will, exile's the end. They look around, it's like, I want to live out my days, under the olive trees in Kabul. Or, I want to be, among the baobab trees, in Somalia, but that's not going to happen. So it's really important that health professionals, and also we as welcoming our newcomers, keep this in mind, that we may be facing some people who have some trauma, some mental trauma, and it's really the children as well, but we'll talk about that as well. Any questions so far, comments, everybody? Anything you want to throw out for discussion or thoughts that are going through your mind?
The only thought, I never thought about the elderly, who come here. I know about the ones who have come who are professionals or were professionals in their own country, and that they had to, so to speak, downgrade tremendously. I have a number of parents that I worked with that. But I never thought about the elderly and the dying, that this is now where they're going to die in this land,
right.
And it's not their
It's not theirs.
homeland.
It's not theirs.
And
That's right.
how difficult that must be, because I can't imagine not
Yes.
being in my own home
Right.
country,
Right.
and not being able to die there. And I'm sure many of them have relatives and so forth back in their home countries,
Sure.
and how hard that must be.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah, I never thought of, I think of the youth, but I forgot about thinking about those who are well over 50, and there are a number of them.
And we think about, families try to come over with the multi-generations, and then they all live together, and as you said, the more mature newcomers, they're in a whole compartment of their own, and
Right.
we need to think about that as well. All right, so in countries where the U.S. has come to save or help the citizens, as we know, and I'm going to mention Afghanistan, there's a sense of hope there's a sense of euphoria. People feel that things are going to change now that the U.S. has come to save them, but that's on their soil. That's us going over there and saving them on their soil. Think about that for a second, all right? So the decline of the decline of education and the decline of infrastructure in some of the homelands of our newcomers and their refugees, this decline in their homelands, it's a huge challenge that may take decades to overcome. Think about what's happening, and again, I keep saying Afghanistan because for me that's the most recent, and I think we can all relate to it because we've heard about, we've read about it, we've seen those pictures that are imprinted on our minds forever of people running, crowding that runway in Kabul. Desperate, the desperation, it was so evident, and it just gives me the chills to think about it. So their infrastructure, everything that they knew for the past 20, 25 years, it's gone now. So I don't know who knows how long it's going to take to overcome. Who knows if the Taliban are going to be more liberal? We don't know that. But it's definitely a change from the past 25 years, and I really understand why so many people wanted to leave, especially the people that are professionals, thinking that because of their ability to speak a little English, because they were helping to translate, that would give them more opportunities. So, as one refugee once said, and I'm going to quote, "America's a nice place, but it will never be my home." And so you're always feeling like a transplant. And so how can we, how do we deal with that? Home is seen as a sense of belonging somewhere. Think about it, your home, you belong there. It's a sense of ownership of that place and of that land. You own land, you're a homeowner. When our newcomers first come, it's going to be living in an apartment or subsidized housing. It's not theirs. It's not the living, like living in compounds with all of your family members living around in the same area. It's very, very different. On the other hand, there's the issue of readily available education in the United States. Now, some men might not want their wives or daughters knowing more than they do because that might be considered shameful. So we take into consideration the gender stereotypes from other countries. And we know from reading, and we know from people who've been interviewed, and it's really interesting because most of the women that are speaking are the shadow, so you can't see their faces, and their voices are altered because they're so afraid. I mean, can you imagine being so afraid to talk about your feelings that you're afraid that your whole family is going to be targeted and who knows what? The themes of honor and the themes of shame run deep in the cultures of many of our newcomers, especially those from our third world countries. So that's something else that we deal with, that we have to think about, not just for our littles, as I call them, our school-age children, but women in their 30s and 40s who are still having children and who may be subject to being made felt like second-class citizens. It's not the way we operate in the United States, yet it is in their country. And I'm going to just I'm going to stop and give you. I like to give examples. Here's a true example, and this happened 2 weeks ago. I've been helping the new English language teacher at my school where Barbara and I taught for many years in Mapledale. A new guy arrived from Egypt in August. His name is Yusuf. He's in 5th grade, and the 5th grade team of teachers, there's one that's a veteran, Mary, there's a veteran teacher, and there are 2 who are new to our school district. Within the first week, they had called, her name is Rachel, the new EL teacher. They called Rachel and they said, "You have to do something with Yusuf. You have to do something. He is disrupting our class. He's walking around. He's not behaving. He's interrupting. And so you," pointing to Rachel, "you have to do something about it." So Rachel came to me because I'm mentoring her, and she said, "Karen, wait, why is it my responsibility? Aren't we all in this together? It's our students," and that's the way we've always. Barbara and I. It was always our students. We share. We're a team. And so I said, "Let's just sit down with this kid." So I went into school. Let's just sit down with our new friend, and let's just chat with him. So I sat across from the table, and there's Yusuf and Rachel, and we're talking. And I said, "So what do you think about school in the United States?" He said, "It's okay. It's okay." I said, "So tell me about school in Egypt. How what was it like?" And he said, "Well, I've never been in a room where there's girls before." "Oh, Yusuf, He said, they were in another school. They were in another school. He said, so I'm not, and his spoken English was actually pretty good. Reading and writing, which are the most difficult domains of English to learn, we're still working on those. But his speaking, he really comprehended everything. So here's this kid, he's, sitting in a room with females. That is so out of his schema. It's so out of his realm of understanding. So all of it, so Rachel and I are exchanging looks like, aha, so the light bulbs are going off. So we talked about what would happen in Egypt if somebody was interrupting. He says, oh, they would hit you. Okay, well, we don't hit in the United States. That's not allowed. We use our words. Right away, different cultures have different forms of consequences. That's not what we do here. So what else can you do? Trying to make myself the naughty student, if you will, and having him correct me, and hoping to have him imbue what I was saying. And he said, well, if somebody was bothering me, I would say, stop bothering me. I said, okay, so I'm that person that's bothering you. So we role played. He said, stop. And I said, and then what else would you do? And he said, I would say, I need to learn. I'm like, great, let's remember that. So I wrote it down. But then I thought, is he going to be comfortable saying that to a female? So we talked about it, and I said, here's what we need to do. I would put him in the front of the class, I would put him along the sides, I would put him in the back, and I would put, the 3 seats around him, or 2 seats, I would put boys there, for now, until he gets used to the fact of, I'm going to be learning with girls. And so, everybody, these are those aha moments that we have, and I can't change what his past was, that's what he's used to, but I need to learn how to change the present situation and his future learning. I can't put him in a classroom with all boys. That's just not what we do. So how can I make him feel more comfortable? These are things that we think about.
Right.
Does anybody have a comment about that? Do you have a reaction?
What about the female teacher? Is he respectful of them, or is he also, because I'm sure he had male teachers?
I'm sure that he did. That's a good question.
So-
That I don't know.
Okay.
That I don't know. And perhaps he was being interrupted because he didn't respect them. Because women,
That's what I'm
right.
wondering.
And that, what, that's a good point. That's a good point. I'll mention that to Rachel.
Right.
But all 3 of the 5th grade teachers are female, so it's
Yes,
the way it goes.
that's right.
But isn't this interesting?
Yeah,
You don't know until you did. And there's all these stories that, really, I'll need to write a book someday.
Right.
Anyway.
Yes, you do.
Right. So there's also the issue of non-literacy in the heritage language of many of our newcomers. Many people whom I've helped here who have come from Somalia in the mid-2000s because of very profound civil unrest, they speak Mai, which is a language in southwestern Somaliland. Mai is an oral language. There's no reading or writing in Mai. So when they come here and they have to learn how to read and write English, if you're from another country and you see books, you see literature, you see your parents or family writing in your heritage language, that's literacy. But if there's no written or language of reading in your heritage language, how do you even start with literacy? What has happened is they now have translated the spoken Mai using the English alphabet letters. They have written down conversations, like, for example, many of the Somalis who are living in northwestern Milwaukee in apartments, they have these instructions in case of emergency or evacuation routes or in case of fire, whatever. Elevator signs, don't go down the elevator, there's a fire. So they've written them, but how do you know that they can read them? It's in their language, so hopefully, that they have some degree of literacy where they can read the words. But again, these are things to think about. So the challenge to learn and to become literate in English is much more profound as a result of not having the background of reading, writing, and the sound to letter correspondence in their heritage language. And as I said before, many of our Somali newcomers, and there is a very sizable Somali community in Milwaukee, everybody. Maybe you knew this, maybe you didn't. If you didn't know it, I'm telling you right now. And there is a school, it's called Claire Mohammed School. It is on just north of North Avenue on Martin Luther King Drive. And it is a school, it's a charter school. It is affiliated there's a mosque, so there's time there for prayers. And I think, what did the principal say? 60% of the student population is Somali. That's huge.
Yeah.
That's big. I think there's probably 150 kids in the school. So there is a Somali community. So as I said before, they had been speaking and hearing Mai, which just until recently was not a written language. And as I said, now they have sound to letter correspondence, so if the word is Mahatsanat, I think that means thank you, so that, they're gonna write it M-A and then H-A, and so with our letters, with, kind of like transliteration. Remember Spanglish, Barb?
Yes,
We did Spanglish. We would
yes.
we would translate the words into chunks of pieces of words that people who were reading it could pronounce.
Right.
All right, so many of our newcomers come from countries where their formal education was interrupted by civil unrest. And again, I'm going to point out Afghanistan, I'm going to point out Somalia, I'm going to point out all of our newcomers who are trying to get in from Mexico, from Guatemala, from El Salvador, coming all the way up from Colombia. There's a lot of civil unrest. So they're not going to school, so their education is interrupted. And their constant need to escape to a safer place. One can only imagine about all the instruction that they've missed. I mean, and I'm going to just speak again, I'm going to interject with, right now we're finding that kids from last year, because of the pandemic, who were learning at home, there's already been regression. We're already seeing, right, everyone's nodding, we're seeing that, oh boy, we can't just do 2 weeks of review, we might have to review for a couple of months. And what about those kids who, weren't able to learn on their own, that their parents were perhaps doing a little more than they should have, enabling, and that happens at home? Who knows? We all handled our being quarantined a little differently. So everybody missed out on instruction, but